Welcome back to Podception, the podcast within our podcast where we ask robot people to take a quick dive back into some of our wildest feature presentations we've ever cooked up. These short episodes are a chance to sample our best feature films without committing to a full hour like our usual podcast. But if you do love what you hear, we highly recommend jumping into the full episode for all the screenwriting insanity you didn't know you needed. Today, we're revisiting Joint Resolution, the touching and totally absurd story of a couple going through a divorce and somehow inheriting a cannabis farm and, for reasons we may not fully understand, a bull named Ferdinand. In classic Beer Me That Movie fashion, it's part comedy, part drama, 100% ridiculous. And don't worry, we'll explain everything, including Ferdinand, in the full episode. So here's the recap, served short and sweet just for your listening pleasure on this holiday break for us. If it hooks you, go check out the full episode number 24. Trust me, it's worth it.
We used to say, when the robots take over, as if it isn't happening already right in front of us. Anyway, here they go, with a review of Beer Me That Movie, Joint Resolution. Name for a beer made by DZ Brow Brewing Company.
Get this, we're diving into a YouTube video today.
Oh, wow, YouTube video.
Yeah, but it's not just any video. It's actually a movie pitch.
Okay.
It's called Joint Resolution, a cannabis comedy with a bullish twist.
Okay.
And it's basically about this divorcing couple that inherits a cannabis farm.
Wow, sounds interesting already.
And the whole thing is supposed to be a comedy. But you know what really struck me was how, even though it's a funny premise, there's some real depth to it, too.
Yeah, I can see that. Like, the idea of second chances and finding yourself in unexpected places, that's pretty universal.
Exactly. And then there are all these quirky details the podcasters came up with. Like, there's this bull named Ferdinand.
A bull.
Yeah. Apparently, he causes all sorts of chaos on the farm.
Oh, I bet.
And then there's this whole accidental green bean empire thing that happens alongside the cannabis plants.
Green beans. What?
It's a long story, but trust me, it's funny. Plus, there's a legal loophole involving something called the Family Farm Bill.
Family Farm Bill. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, it could make or break everything for our main characters.
So this Family Farm Bill, is it like a real thing?
Well, it reflects a real trend of policies that aim to protect small farms.
Ah, I see.
Especially family-run ones, from being taken over by big corporations.
Right. So in the movie, it's like only families can get certain benefits.
Exactly. Which is interesting because our main characters, Brad and Mandy, are in the middle of a divorce.
Oh, wow. Talk about bad timing.
Yeah. But it's important to point out that their split is amicable.
Okay, so they're not like at each other's throats.
No, not at all. They've just grown apart over the years.
That makes sense. Sometimes people just evolve in different directions.
Exactly. It's not always about blame or anything like that.
Yeah, it's just life sometimes.
And then, bam, they get hit with this curveball, inheriting a cannabis farm from some distant relative they didn't even know they had.
Whoa, talk about a twist of fate.
I know, right? And to make matters even more interesting, the judge handling their divorce gives them just 90 days to get the farm running.
Oh, what?
Or the city will seize the property.
Oh, man. That's a lot of pressure.
For sure. It's the perfect setup for comedy, though, especially when you consider Brad's background.
What does he do?
He's a corporate lawyer.
Oh, boy. So he's going from suits and boardrooms to cannabis plants?
Yep, and bulls.
Yeah.
Apparently he tries to buy a bull thinking it'll be a simple solution to, well, I'm not even sure what he was thinking.
That sounds hilarious. I could already picture it.
Oh, it's classic Brad. He's so used to this rigid corporate world that he just doesn't get the unpredictable nature of farming.
Yeah, that contrast is definitely comedic gold.
Totally. Meanwhile, Mandy, who's always been a homemaker, discovers this hidden entrepreneurial side to herself.
Interesting. So she's thriving in this new environment.
It's like she's finally found her element.
Yeah.
You can almost picture Brad poring over legal documents while Mandy's out in the field experimenting with different cannabis strains.
I love it. It's a nice twist on traditional gender roles.
Right. It makes you wonder if maybe their marriage fell apart because Mandy felt stifled.
It's possible. Maybe she needed this challenge to really connect with her ambition.
Yeah, and it's not like Brad's completely incompetent on the farm.
Wow.
They actually have their first successful sale at the farmer's market.
Really?
Yeah. They're covered in dirt, exhausted, completely out of their element, but there's this shared sense of accomplishment.
It's a reminder of what they once had, that partnership that brought them together in the first place.
Totally. And then, of course, they have to try their own product.
Of course.
And this is where things get really funny. You can just imagine these two fumbling with a joint for the first time,
Oh, my back.
coming up with all these ridiculous stoner thoughts, ending up on a surreal trip to the drive-in.
Classic. It's like they're rediscovering their youthful spirit.
Exactly. It's a reminder that laughter and shared experiences can be powerful.
Especially for a strained relationship.
For sure. But just as things are looking up, reality comes crashing back in.
Oh, no. What happened?
We'll have to save that for next time.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat now.
Good. We'll pick up the story and see what twists and turns await Brad and Mandy in part 2.
Can't wait. Okay, so last time we left Brad and Mandy, they had just had this, life-changing experience.
Right, trying their own cannabis for the first time.
And they were starting to remember how to laugh together again.
But then there's this phone call that kind of throws a wrench in everything.
Uh-oh. What happens?
It's Brad's law firm. They're offering him a partnership.
Wow. That's huge.
Yeah. It's like the thing he's been working towards his entire career.
So now he has to choose between this safe, predictable path and this risky, unconventional life he's building on the farm.
Exactly. It's like that classic dilemma,
Safe bet versus following your heart.
Exactly. And it's not just about Brad's personal ambition either.
What do you mean?
Well, there's this societal pressure too, especially for men to equate their worth with their professional success.
Right. It's like their job title defines who they are.
Yeah. And the podcasters actually bring in this really interesting character to highlight
What's that?
Brad's mentor.
Oh, okay.
He's like this seasoned lawyer who represents everything Brad thought he wanted.
So like the epitome of success in Brad's eyes.
Yeah. But this mentor actually warns Brad about chasing ambition at the expense of happiness.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He basically says that even someone who seems to have it all can still look back and wonder, what if?
That's deep. It makes you think about what truly matters.
Right. And while all this is happening with Brad, Mandy's back on the farm dealing with her own crisis.
What's going on?
Remember that family farm bill loophole we talked about?
Yeah.
Well, turns out there's this ruthless big cannabis corporation that's trying to exploit it.
Oh, no. What are they doing?
They're trying to take over the farm. They know Brad and Mandy are getting divorced, and they see it as an opportunity to swoop in.
It's like David versus Goliath. The small independent farmers against these corporate giants.
Exactly. And it's especially tough for Mandy because the farm has become so much more than just a business for her.
I can see that. She's poured her heart and soul into it.
Yeah, it's her sanctuary, her creative outlet, a symbol of her newfound independence.
So what does she do?
She actually makes this really heartfelt plea to Brad about what the farm means to her, how much she's invested in it.
Does he listen?
Well, it's tough for him. He's so caught up in his own dilemma.
I bet. It's hard to let go of a dream you've been chasing for so long.
And there's this fear of failure, too. What will people think if he walks away from this prestigious career?
Yeah, that societal pressure can be really tough to overcome.
But just when things seem hopeless, Brad stumbles upon a possible solution.
What's that?
He takes another look at the family farm bill, and he discovers something interesting.
What is it?
The bill has a very specific definition of what constitutes a family.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And that definition might just be the key to saving the farm.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. So what happens next?
Well, the podcasters leave us hanging at this point. Brad makes this dramatic exit from his law firm destination unknown.
Oh, man. Talk about a cliffhanger.
Meanwhile, Mandy's back at the farm, desperately trying to fend off those corporate lawyers.
So the fate of the farm and their relationship hangs in the balance.
Will Brad choose love over ambition?
Will Mandy be able to save her dream?
And what about Ferdinand?
Oh, yeah, the bull. Where does he fit into all of this?
We'll have to find out in the thrilling conclusion of our deep dive into joint resolution. Okay, so here we are, the moment of truth. Does Brad go corporate or cannabis?
Yeah, and will Mandy lose the farm to those big, bad corporate guys?
And what about Ferdinand the bull?
Right. Last we saw, Brad was speeding away from his law firm.
Ditching those fancy suits and stuffy boardrooms?
It seemed like he was having a change of heart. But is it too late?
Well, according to the podcasters, Brad does eventually come back to the farm.
He does.
But not in some flashy car or anything like that.
How does he show up?
Covered in dust, looking more like a farmer than a lawyer.
Wow. So he really shed that old life, huh?
Yeah. And it's not just about appearances either.
What do you mean?
When he sees Mandy, he just pours his heart out to her.
Oh, wow. What does he say?
He admits he was wrong. He acknowledges how strong she is.
It sounds like he's really taking responsibility for his actions.
He is, and he tells her how much he regrets ever leaving the farm.
That's got to be tough, swallowing your pride like that.
Yeah, but it's also incredibly powerful, There's no justifications, no excuses.
Just pure honesty.
Exactly. And while Mandy's still hurt, she can see that he's being sincere.
Sometimes that's all it takes. You
Yeah.
know? A real heartfelt apology.
It can go a long way. And then Brad does something completely unexpected.
What's that?
He proposes.
He proposes.
Yeah. But it's not like a romantic outpouring or anything like that.
What is it?
It's more like a strategic decision.
Strategic.
Yeah. He realizes that the only way to save the farm and qualify for those family farm bill benefits is to literally become a family again.
Ah, so he's thinking with his lawyer brain.
Totally. But of course, the podcasters couldn't resist throwing in a little comedic twist.
What happens?
As Brad's proposing, Ferdinand the bull accidentally knocks the ring into a pile of cow poop.
Oh, no. You're kidding.
No, it's a perfect blend of heartfelt emotion and slapstick comedy.
Only Ferdinand could pull that off.
Right. So anyway, Mandy says yes.
She does.
They have a simple wedding right there on the farm, surrounded by their cannabis plants.
Oh, that's sweet. It's like a symbol of their new beginning.
Yeah, and they managed to outsmart those big cannabis guys, too.
So they get to keep the farm.
They do. It's a real victory for the little guy.
I love it.
Yeah.
It shows that you can fight for what you believe in.
And sometimes win.
Exactly. But the story doesn't end there, right?
Oh, you know it doesn't. Remember those accidental green beans?
The ones that sprouted up with the cannabis?
Yeah. Well, turns out they're not just any beans.
What are they?
They have some kind of weird genetic mutation that makes them super valuable for biofuel.
No way. Seriously?
Yep. It's like a bonus round of good fortune.
Wow. Talk about lucking out.
It just goes to show you that sometimes the best things in life happen when you least expect them.
Totally. So Brad and Mandy end up with a thriving cannabis business and a potential green bean empire.
All because they were willing to take a chance on something different.
This whole story, it really makes you think, you know.
About taking risks, about second chances, about finding happiness in unexpected places.
It reminds us that life isn't always about following a straight path. Sometimes the most rewarding journeys are the ones that take unexpected detours.
And who knows, maybe you'll stumble upon your own joint resolution out there somewhere.